Lonnie Lopez, and on today's episode of One Time Out Left, we have Coach Rene Morales, who has coached for 32 years, all at Los Fresnos, football and baseball. He's the current head baseball coach for the Los Fresnos Falcons. One of the things I do want to talk about is it's the first time we're doing baseball. We're doing any other sport other than football. I know some of you, the viewers, have been asking me, well, where are you going to get somebody else? Well, we have baseball. So, Coach Morales, appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Lonnie.
So, Coach, let's start from the beginning, because I was like starting from the beginning. I want to talk about growing up in the Morales household. So, talk to me about Brownsville. You grew up in Brownsville. Am I wrong? I mean,
No, you're right. I grew up in Brownsville. I have an older brother and a younger sister. We were a family of 5, my mom and dad. I went to school in Brownsville Elementary, called Clearwater Elementary. Okay. Went to middle school at Central Middle School, and then from there went to Pace High School. So growing up at those 3 schools, but along the way we played. I ended up playing baseball and football during the summers and in the fall, and played there at West Brownsville. We played football with the boys club, the Brownsville Boys Club. So, and it's a funny story. You say, football. I wanted to be a running back, but I was too big to be a running back. Back then, it was how much you weighed.
So they weighed you before each game.
Yeah, they weighed us. So I was too big to be a running back. So I became a offensive lineman.
Okay.
So that's one of the funny stories, that I never got to play, or I never got to carry the ball as a youngster. I always had to block somebody.
But in the streets, I bet you were running the ball and stuff.
Oh, yeah, in the streets. We'd play in the streets, and I was quarterback, receiver, you name it, I did it all.
Yeah.
So
talking with your and talking about your parents, what did your parents do growing up?
Well, my dad was a mechanic in Firestone, downtown Brownsville, and then my mom worked for Levi's.
Brownsville, the one over there off by the port.
By the port. Really? Yeah, she started off at Hager, the one right by the mall, right next across the railroad tracks.
Okay.
So she worked there until they got moved over there by the port. So, my parents were a great, example for us of hard work, because what they did was very hard.
Yeah, because I remember I have some cousins that worked at Hager's growing up, and then Levi's for the longest time. My uncle worked at Levi's here in the San Benito one forever in the day and stuff, until all that started closing down and stuff. And your dad was a mechanic, so you're talking long hours. Your dad worked long hours, so coming up with some hands all dirty, greasy and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and then you said you were the oldest of?
No, I was a middle kid.
The middle one, so older brother and a younger sister. Yeah. Okay. With that, are they in the education field?
Yes, we are all coaches.
Really?
My brother.
What? Yes.
My brother is the offensive coordinator at Pace. My sister is the 8th grade and 7th grade coach at Monsanto Middle School.
Really?
And it's funny because we never would have thought that we'd be going into education, all 3 of us, and we ended up at education. We're just so competitive with each other and things like that. Growing up, we were so competitive that it was just fun, just competing in the house. And whatever we did, checkers, marbles, just things like that. That even my sister, grew up with. We had there were 6 boys in our family, and she was the only female.
Ah. Okay.
So she didn't grow up with dolls. She grew up playing baseball and softball and volleyball and kickball and everything with the boys. So she grew up tough on her side.
Well, she has to, Coach, with all those men. So, Coach, as you grew up and you played football and you played baseball, as you transferred into like middle school and high school and stuff, did you continue to play both of those sports through high school?
Yes, I did.
Still offensive lineman?
Yes, I was an offensive lineman. And it's funny because after a while, it was like, I knew what I was going to play. I was an offensive lineman, and that's it. Middle school, I played offensive line. I got to high school, I played offensive line. And baseball growing up, I was a pitcher, third baseman.
Okay.
And I had a couple of coaches that were very influential in playing the game of baseball. And I think that's why I loved it a lot, and I love playing football. I like to hit people when I was growing up, in pads and stuff like that. But, and I know you had this person on your podcast a while back. Jesus Amaya was my little league baseball coach. And he always, every time I see him, he always jokes around. He says, "Hey, you want a piece of gum?"
Piece of gum. Yeah, he mentioned that.
So those are fun times, and it's ironic that later on in life, in high school, I got to play for him.
Okay.
So
when he was at Pace, so you got to play for him. Okay.
He was at Pace High School. I got to play for him. He was our offensive line coach.
Oh,
so I got to play for him, and it's a small world out there. So
was that Forster the head coach? Who was the head coach at that time?
The head coach was Jonel Garza.
Jonel Garza. Then you got to play. And when Amaya was an assistant, and was Forster already there too?
No, Forster already had left.
Left. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that was some fun times, and then I had a coach. Another Little League coach was Coach Hockovic, and this talk about a man with a lot of discipline, very structured practice. We were scared of him because he looked like a giant to us compared to growing up. And he was about 6'3", 6'4". And when he talked, we listened. And, like I said, our practices were very structured. And, we learned a lot of things from him. We were champions a lot of times there at West Brownsville Little League. I played with Glore. The name of the team was Glore. I got to play with my brother 1 year, which was awesome. So, all these things that growing up we did was all competitive. And even when I was a younger brother, my brother always used to push me like, "Hey, like you're falling behind. Like, you're my brother. You need to get better." Yeah. Just little things like that.
The Morales name, keep it up, keep going. So as you go into high school, and who was your baseball coach at that time?
My baseball coach was Tony Barbosa.
Tony Barbosa.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, did you along the way? You go to high school and you got a scholarship for baseball, or you didn't get a scholarship?
Yeah, I got a scholarship for baseball to play at Texas Southmost College. A long time ago.
Okay. Who was the coach there at that time?
Arnie Alvarez.
Arnie Alvarez. Okay, yeah. I know Rene Medrano talked about that. If you don't know, Rene Medrano will be on the podcast. We had him the other day. But with that, Coach, so how does one get a scholarship back? I mean, I would say back in the day, but because now they have signings and people calling. It's always on Twitter and all social media. How did it work back then?
Well, it was. What I remember is I got called in by Coach Barbosa when school was out, and he goes, "Coach Arnie Alvarez wants to talk to you at the university." So I was like, "Okay, so what do I do?" And he was like, "Well, you need to meet with him in the gym, and then he just wants to talk to you, see what you're going to do, and we go from there." I was like, "Okay, are you going to be there?" And he goes, "No." He goes, "Just go over there, drive up, ask for Arnie Alvarez, and they'll direct you to where he goes." So I step into his office, and we sit down and talk, about my future and what I want to do and things like that, what I want to do later on in life. And, if I still wanted to play ball. I told him, yes, sir, I wanted to play ball. And we talked a little bit, and he got to know me a little bit, and we talked about my family and things like that. And he offered me a scholarship. So, and it was a JUCO back then. So I played 2 years there at TSC.
Coach, in terms of those type of scholarships, what do they, in terms of give you, like dorm room stuff and books and pay for everything, or how did it work? How does those scholarships?
What I got was I got my tuition paid for and my books. Okay. I was living at home.
Oh, because you.
So he didn't offer me a dorm or anything like that, because I was told him I was going to stay at home. So I was living at home with my parents, and my tuition and my books were free, and all I had to do was go to class.
Coach, on that note, when you, I'm gonna go back, and I probably skipped forward, but I'll go back to when you played at Pace. Any of those teammates that you played with, are those any of them coaches nowadays, or coach for anything?
Well, my brother for sure.
He's how many years older than you?
He's 2 years older.
2 years older. So he was a senior, you'd be a sophomore. Okay.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure to play with him my sophomore year, and it was just one of those things where I was just happy to be on the team. I didn't play much, but I was just happy to be on the team. We made a good run. And, my freshman baseball coach was Henry Cadiel.
Oh, okay.
And he was...
if you're in the Browns area, if you're in the Browns area back in those days, you're going to know Coach Henry Cadiel.
Yeah, and it was... I got a funny story about, if you know him, you know him. And he was... we're playing for a district championship with a JV team at Ed Couch, and I'm struggling a little bit, so
pitching.
So I'm pitching, and he comes out and talks to me. He goes, "Hey man, like, you know, let's get it going, man. Like, let's go. Like, got a couple run lead. Let's get it done. I said, yes, sir. And then as he turns around to walk away, he turns back and says, hey, by the way, what do you feel like eating tonight? And I just looked at him like, what? Like, you know, I was like, Coach, wherever you want. I said, we're going to get the 3 outs. And sure enough, we ended up getting the 3 outs. But that's just something that he knew when to throw in those funny jokes, you know, or those little comments to get you kind of to calm down and stuff.
Yeah. Take your mind off the stress. Yeah.
So it was, you know, and he's a funny guy if you know him.
So you play for Coach Gabriel and Barbosa and stuff, and then I'm gonna go now. We're going back to college. So talk to me about playing college baseball. Like how is that?
It was very stressful at the beginning because we were having the 5 o'clock workouts.
5 a.m.
5 a.m.
So you had to get up at 4 or whatever time. Yeah.
You know, and I'm an early riser, and I didn't have a problem showing up. It's just the workouts were tough, and I had to just suck it up. We were running 3 to 4 miles every morning.
Wow.
And that was it. You know, that was his gut check time. And we'd go Monday through Thursday. And if you were not there, you better have a good reason why.
Mm-hmm.
So we survived that in the fall, and then played my freshman year. You know, made the team, and it was hard putting, you know, your classes and, you know, practice, and then traveling on the weekends. Our closest road trip was Laredo.
Wow.
We would go to Laredo. We would go to Houston, Alvin. You know, it was just everywhere. And it's like we travel on Friday and play 2 games on Saturday and 1 on Sunday and drive back Sunday night after the game. So it was just one of those things where I had to adjust and get my studies done.
Yeah.
So, but it was tough.
So as you played 2 years with Texas Southmost College, now I want to ask on that roster, was there any future coaches in that roster other than yourself?
Well, there was a couple, but they're not coaching here. They're coaching. Most of the guys we had were from the Corpus area. Got a couple guys coaching up there, and you know, but it was just one of those things where, you know, you lose kind of touch with them and stuff like that. You'll see them once in a while at coaching school and things like that. But they were, you know, we got Mark Gonzalez was one of them. You know, another one I think was Felipe Cantu. You know, but you know, it's just hard to keep contact with them since they go their own way. You know, after 2 years.
I actually, one of my high school classmates just texted me earlier because I told him I was going to have you on the podcast, and he says, "Oh, ask him if he knows Coach Zeke from Spring. Is it Spring High School, or that he played with you in college?" He goes, "I know him," and he said he knows Coach Morales and stuff. And I said, "Oh, I'll bring it up in the podcast."
Yeah, I played with him at Shriner University. He was a character. He was a pitcher also, so we hung out most of the time up in Shriner, and you know, we did things together. And yeah, he's coaching up there in Houston.
Yeah, Houston,
and I talk to him once in a while on Facebook. So it's just funny, and you know, there's a lot of great memories that we had. You know, I got the opportunity to play in, you know, in that JUCO All-Star game in I'm trying to think of the place in Blinn. There was the first time they had a JUCO All-Star game, and you know, Coach calls me into the office, and I'm thinking I'm in trouble. Coach Arne office, hey, I need to see you in my office. And usually that didn't mean it's something good. It means something happened, or you know. So I walk in his office, and this is in the fall of my sophomore year. He calls me up and says, "Rene," it's like, "Yes, sir." I said, "Am I in trouble? Did I do something wrong? Did I not register enough classes?" You know, I'm just kind of throwing things out. And he goes, "No, I just want to congratulate you. Me and you are going to the All-Star game in Blinn." He goes, "I nominated you. They picked you." He goes, "So me and you are going up to Blinn." So I was just like, wow. Like, I said, "Are you sure, Coach, it was me?" Like, I couldn't believe it. "Are you sure it was me?" So we drive up to Blinn, and we're talking, and I'm thinking, like, you know, I'm 5'9", maybe 10, wearing my spikes, but I get there and I'm thinking, like, man, like, these guys are big. Like, I don't like, So we get there. We have that first day of practice, because we're playing Saturday. So we go out there, practice, hit a little bit. Of course, I'm a pitcher, so I don't hit. So they matched me up with Roger Luce. Roger Luce was about 6'3", 6'4", about 190, 200. That cat went to go play at the University of Texas.
Wow.
So he asked me, hey, you want to go throw a bullpen? I said, yeah, And I'm thinking like, I knew who this guy was. And I'm like this guy's legit. Like, so throw a little bit with him. And, and this is, I start throwing and I'm pitching tomorrow. So I throw a couple pitches. And he goes, you want to let a couple go? I said, yeah, let me let a couple go. So I let a couple go. He goes, did you already throw it hard? I was like, yeah, I threw a couple already hard. And I'm thinking like, God dang, like this guy wants me to throw a little harder. So at the end, he was like, I was joking with you, man. I know you weren't throwing hard. And I said, yeah, you're right, man. I was just kind of loosening up. But deep inside, I was giving him everything I had.
And he was like, oh, yeah.
So, but got to play in the All-Star game, which was a great, experience for me. And, it was just something that I'll remember playing catch, and then I see him go to UT, and I was like, wow, got to play with this guy playing at
UT. So when you're in TSC for 2 years, then you transitioned to Shriner, or how did that work?
Well, we were at Alvin playing in a conference game, and the coach goes, hey, the guy from Shriner's coming to watch you pitch. So I was like, all right. So, I just got mentally ready to go and pitched well that weekend. And then after the game, he goes, hey, I'd like to talk to you. Sure. So we sat there and talked, and he goes, I'm going to offer you a scholarship. You're welcome to come. He goes, I want you to come to visit the campus whenever the baseball season's over. I want you on my team. And sure enough, me and another pitcher ended up going there by the name of Billy Tipton. He was my roommate up at Shriner University. Mm. He was from Victoria. Okay. He had played for a state championship at Victoria when Victoria only had one school. Okay. So you talk about a guy that had a state championship ring. And I was like, every time he'd wear it, I said, come on, man, like, you serious? Like, I don't have one of those. But he's like, hey, it's hard work, man. We had a great team and things like that. And, so we shared some great stories, the things that he did at Victoria. And, it was awesome being around him.
And Coach, when you're in Shriner, were you already majoring, like trying to major in kinesiology, or you had something other major? You automatically knew that was it?
Yes, I was majoring in kinesiology, but it was funny you say that because growing up, I wanted to be a fireman.
Okay.
And I think being a fireman growing up was all the excitement of seeing that red truck and driving fast and all the lights on and everything like that. I think that's what kind of attracted me to being a fireman. And going into high school, I was like, man, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a fireman. Like, that's what I want to do. Like, and then sure enough, I had some great coaches like Coach Amaya, Coach Barbosa, Henry Cadiel, Yonel Garza, all these guys, made me look like, no, like I want to be a coach now. Like, This is what I want to do. Yeah. So, it's just, once I got to college, I knew what I wanted to do. So
then that was your path. So you go to TSC, you're in Shriner. So then you played there another 2 years at Shriner?
Yeah, played another 2 years. Met a bunch of great guys there. My buddy Lonnie Ray. He was from North Dallas, and he was my catcher. And then Billy Tipton was my roommate. And then
another pitcher, you said.
Yeah. And then we had this crazy guy, Richard Diaz, was our outfielder. He was fast can be, and us four always hung out together. So, we got some stories about just hanging out and doing some crazy things, but it was just fun, that camaraderie that we met, us four, in which we still talk to each other and things like that. And, it was fun.
Are any of those four coaches nowadays, or they're
No, one of them is retired. The other one of them's living in Kerrville, which is Lonnie. And then Richard Diaz is living in Houston. And then Billy Tipton lives in Victoria still.
Still, he went back.
Yeah, he went back to Victoria. But there's a story. We're playing Southwestern University. Back then, they used to be like our rivals. We didn't like them. They didn't like us. And it always went down to the end. So we got a 1-run lead. So coach puts me in to pitch in relief. And there's one out. And they got a runner at first base. We're up 1. So I get up on the mound and start throwing. So I get to 2 strikes. And I shake off my catcher, which is Lonnie. I shake him off. And then I step off. Because he's telling me to throw a certain pitch. I'll tell him nope. So get back on the mound. And he gives me this certain pitch. And I said, nope, we're going to throw this one. So he says, all right, throw it. Well, I made the bad decision as a pitcher. I gave up a 2-run homer to lose the game. No. So at the end of the game, we're driving back. This was on a Sunday, driving back to Kerrville. And me and the catcher get called into the coach's office as soon as we get off the van. I need to see both of you guys. So we walk into his office and we're best friends. And, we to this day, we still talk about it. Like, coach was saying that Lonnie told the hitter what was coming, which it wasn't true, but he had heard that from one of the other guys. And we were just laughing. Like, he goes, I want to know the truth. Like, Lonnie, did you tell that hitter what was coming? And Lonnie goes, no. And then he asked me, he goes, do you believe that? I said, yes, sir. I said, he's my catcher. He wouldn't do that to me. So we walked out of there laughing. Like, I said, how can our coach believe that, we're trying to win the game. We're in there to win the game. And, and I made a bad pitch. That's it. I shouldn't have thrown that pitch. Now that I look at things and, but, little things like that, we knew we were on the same page. But that time we were not on the same page. And, And
now, do you think that if you threw that other pitch that he asked for, was it going to be the right pitch or?
Maybe. I will never know.
I never know. Yeah,
we'll never know.
But the one you threw, you knew that was wrong.
That was the wrong pitch. And plus, I hung a curveball, and he hit it out of the ballpark. So, but it was just one of those things that you live and learn with it. And now, after that, we would joke around. I kind of shake him off a couple of times, and he would call timeout, and he would walk up to me and go, "Hey, remember what happened last time?"
So he reminded you.
Yeah. So we would just, but he's, he was a great catcher and stuff, and enjoyed playing with him and things like that. And, we had a couple of great players. And David Holtz, he was a senior when I was a junior. He got drafted by the Rangers. He played for the Rangers a couple of years. Played with Milwaukee. Wow. So got to see him play, and it was awesome. I grew up, another guy was Rodney Holland, shortstop from New Braunfels. And, I got to see guys that had that talent to play at the next level. They got drafted to play in the major league level. And he got drafted by the Cleveland Indians. So, those two guys were just extraordinary athletes. Just like, and that's something that I try to tell these young kids. Like, you have to work. You have to put in the extra time, not just the time we're on the field all together. You got to be able to put that extra time.
Yeah, right.
David Holtz and Rodney would go out there and hit at nights. While everybody else is doing whatever. Yeah, they'd be out there hitting in the cage. And nobody used to tell them anything. Like, they're out there working. So it takes a little extra work, a little extra talent that they have. Yeah.
Coach, I want to ask this question because I don't think I've touched this on any of the podcast parts. Is you're from Brownsville. You go to Kerrville, which is about maybe 6 hours away, 5.5 hours away. How do you stay focused without thinking, man, I'm missing home. I'm missing, my mom's tortillas or something. How do you, because that's what happens. A lot of these kids, they end up going to college, and sometimes they're missing. But how did you get through it? And that's a 2-part question. How did you get through it? And what would you tell them?
Well, the first part of it was, and it was hard because that was my first time going anywhere by myself. Mm-hmm. And so I'm driving, and I remember driving, and I hit Kingsville. And I pulled over, and I sat at one of the gas stations, and I'm looking back towards Brownsville. And am I doing the right thing? I asked myself that. Am I doing the right thing? And I was like, you know what? I got to go. I got to go. I can't go back. I'm already here. I got to go back. So I keep driving, and all the way from Kingsville to Kerrville, I'm thinking, I don't know, man. I don't know about this, but I keep convincing myself every time that I can do this. And having Billy Tipton as my roommate, I kept thinking, like, I know him. I'm not going in there with nobody that I don't know.
Okay, see.
And we were okay. So I get there, and he was my roommate and stuff. And it's kind of hard because, the first week you're going to school, you're not practicing baseball. You're just trying to get used to the environment and your classes and things like that. After a week, we had our first team meeting, and that's when we started. But that first week, for both of us, me and Billy, we were like, man, like, this is tough for us. Like, we had each other, but that was it. Like, we're trying to, who plays baseball and this and that, and we're trying to meet people. But it's tough for everybody. You just have to be willing to say, you know what, I'm here to do something, and let's get it done. What was the second part of the question?
That part was like about what you said right now about what would you tell somebody now that's signing and they're going to go to Kerrville, Shriner, or they're going to go Southwestern, or Our Lady of the Lake, and they're 4 hours they're close to home, but still 4 hours from home.
Yeah. No, you just got to stay focused on your goals and things like that. And back then, we were there. Of course, back then we didn't have cell phones. So I would talk to my parents on Sunday.
On Sunday you would.
Yeah. And, and back then, call collect. I'd get on the phone, call my parents collect, and I'd sit there and I'd talk to them for about 5-10 minutes and, okay, love you, son. Love you, mom. And that was it, And if we needed something, it was coming through the mail.
Yeah,
and we had to sit there and wait. And we would write letters back then. And people would say, well, what are letters? Like, yeah, we would write letters back then to our parents, saying everything was okay and things like that. And, so, it was just one of those times that you had to adjust on the run. I adjusted on the run. Once I started meeting the baseball players, it became a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because you got more friends and things like that. And, like Lonnie and Richard, they were already there. They were at school. So they kind of took us under their wing and showed us things around. And, we got around town a little bit more and things like that. So,
surround yourself with some good people. That's what's going to help out. So, Coach, you come to, did Shriner during that time ever get like to the College World Series or to any of those those type of situations?
My junior year, we ended up playing in the playoffs because our season was cut short because of the weather. We missed about 7 to 10 games that season because the weather was bad. Every weekend we couldn't play because of the weather here and the weather was there. So at the end of the day, we ended up in the top 4 of our conference. So we ended up playing at Baylor University for our playoffs.
Waco.
Yes. And as we're headed out, our number 1 pitcher tells Coach he's not going. He's not going to go because he's got tests to study for. But that was right before finals. So we kind of said, like, well, shoot, like, what are we doing now? So we get to the hotel. We check in there. We're playing the late game that evening. So Coach calls me in. He goes, Rene, yes, sir. How would you feel starting the game today? I was like, Coach, I haven't started in a while. I said, you've been using me in relief and to close games up and stuff like that. And that's what I really liked. I liked that pressure situation to come in and close the game or try to get a couple outs here and there and things like that. So, I said, Coach, whatever you want me to do. I said, I'm a team player. I said, I want to win just as much as you do. So I get there and so he tells the other players, hey, we're going to go with Rene. Rene started as far as he can go. So we ended up winning the first game. We hit the ball and we scored a lot of runs. And so the next day we're playing the number 1 team in NAIA. And at that time, David Holtz was a senior. I was a junior, and David Holtz started off with a double, and he smoked one off the wall there at Baylor. Our number 2 hitter decides we're going to bunt him over to third base, and then Lonnie comes up to hit. Lonnie was a great hitter. He comes up, smokes one, we score a run. So we're winning. We got a 1-0 against the number 1 team in the nation in NAIA. And we're like, this is what it's all about. We're going to beat them. We're going to upset them. Well, put it to you this way. It didn't finish 1-0. It finished up like 27-1.
Holy moly.
That's how good they were. And, you know, it was just one of those things where it's a learning thing. And they were very good. They ended up winning the championship that year. And, you know, it's just a learning thing. But we went in there like, no fear. Let's go out and see. And when we scored that first run, our dugout was like fired up. Yeah. And then after that first inning, the old enthusiasm went down.
It's like when you say, well, I'm gonna kill these ants, and you throw something on them, they're killed. They're like, no, man, you got them mad.
Yeah,
you got them mad. So I get you.
Yeah.
So Coach, so when as you said, okay, you're coming towards the end of your baseball career in college, that's when you're saying, well, I'm gonna graduate. I'm going to look for a job now, or you thought, well, I think I have something lined up?
Well, my senior year, the Reds used to have a tryout there in San Antonio. So
Cincinnati Reds.
Cincinnati Reds. So we ended up going there, and I topped out at 85, which for a right-hander, that's not very fast. But, you know, I was like, I told myself, I'm going to give myself, at least I can say that I went to a tryout. So went to a tryout, you know, threw a little bit. We had a little inter-squad. You know, got my outs out, but, you know, and then they called certain kids and, you know, certain guys to go, and they talked to them. So I got to talk to one of the guys from the Reds. I said, I'm not asking for anything. I just want to know, as the reason why I didn't make it, I didn't throw hard enough, right? And they go, yeah. So your control was pinpoint. And I was one of those pitchers that I was, you know, my control was very good. I could throw the ball anywhere in the strike zone and things like that. But he goes, you just don't throw very hard. He goes, and, you know, you're 21 years old. And he goes, we give you 3 or 4 years in the minor leagues, you'll probably throw 87, 89. So he goes, you know, guys like you, there's a bunch. So I walked out of there thinking, okay, you know, I got my answer. I had a tryout. So that part of the book closed.
Gotcha.
And wasn't good enough to play wasn't good enough to play in any type of major league farm system.
You're saying 85. What would have been a good number? What do you think? Was it like a 90 something?
Back then it was 89, 90.
Consistent.
91, yeah.
Was like hard, yeah.
Yeah.
Control and that.
So, you know.
But now they're throwing faster, am I
right?
right?
Yeah. Now they're about 95, 96. You know, guys throwing 101. Just, you know.
Oh, wow.
So back then it was kind of, you know, I was in the middle, but not really the middle.
Gotcha.
So, you know, but, you know, I can say that I did try it and didn't work out. So after that, I was 12 hours short. So it was going to cost an arm and a leg to go back to Shriner to get my degree. So I just decided that summer come back and go to UTRGV here in Brownsville. And I talked to the professor, the education professor, and he goes, well, look, we can do this. We can do this. We got a lot of classes to transfer. He goes, you're going to need 21 hours. And I was like,
7 classes, about 7 classes, right?
Yeah. So I was like, awesome. Said, I'm coming back home. I told my parents, I'm coming back home. I'm not going to go back. I need to get all my transcripts, all my paperwork done. So, you know, it took me a year, and then I did my student teaching the following year. And, you know, now I became a teacher. But, you know, if you know Cummings Middle School, that's where I did my student teaching.
Okay, in Brownsville.
Yeah, in Brownsville. And it's ironic because the first 6 weeks I did history, which that was awesome in class, and, you know, they just getting lesson plans ready and things like that. And then after 6 weeks, I transferred to PE. Well, it was just one of those days, and kids are going to be kids. Well, it's just me and the teacher, and they have he's got about 50 kids in there, and he goes, Coach, stay out here. They already know what to do. So I'm standing outside, dressed up nicely, and all of a sudden, two guys get after it. They're fighting. And I'm looking.
Welcome to Cummings. Welcome,
I'm looking
welcome
to see where the other coach is at. Well, the coach was in the dressing room, and I'm like, Coach, I'm yelling at him. So he comes out. Well, he gets him, and I'm right behind him because I'm a student teacher. I really don't know how to handle this situation. So he gets one of them, and I get the other one, and he's got that kid in the corner, and I'm like, holy cow, like, what did I get myself into, right? Well, I got this kid, like, hey, man, like, calm down, like, and, so everything settled up. They went to the office, and driving home that day, I was like, man, like, this is what teaching's all about. I was like, I went from heaven in the classroom to a fight the first time I'm here, and I'm like, oh my God, like, but it got better, and I got to help out a little bit with football, things like that, So it was a great experience, but things like that, they don't teach you when you're in college. They don't teach you certain situations like that. Yeah. So I was like, first of all, I didn't know what to do. I was like, so I started yelling, Coach. And the second time he came out, and then he saw those guys fighting, I was right behind him. Yeah. So.
So you did your student teaching at Cummings, but you were in social studies because you minored in social studies?
Yeah,
so it was major kinesiology, minor. Okay,
minor in social studies.
So then you were in the PE, the rest of the part.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and then you graduate. Where we're going? Where we're going after that?
After that, I'm looking. I graduated in December. I'm looking for a job. And I'm putting my applications everywhere. And there's no take. And Coach Amaya had come over here to Los Fresnos. And so I said, let me call my old coach. And I called him. I said, Coach, I just graduated. You got anything available? I said, I need to work. I said, I need to start paying off my loans. I need to work. And he goes, give me a week. I'll give you a call back. Well, at that time, one of the coaches was sick, and they didn't know what they were going to do with the situation. So, just one of those things where a week later comes, he goes, Coach, I might have something for you. He goes, come see me. We'll talk, and we'll go from there. We'll talk to the principal, and we'll go from there. Ray Farias was the principal. So I go in there, and I talk to him, and he goes, you graduated? Yeah. He goes, well, we can't hire you as a teacher, but we'll hire you as a permanent sub. So he was the coach that got real sick. He was teaching health.
Okay.
So I was teaching health. And for a new teacher, it's an eye-opening situation because I was just thrown into it like, hey, these are your kids, go educate them. And, got going, rough a couple of days here and there and stuff like that. And then Coach Amaya pulled me aside and said, hey, man, you must be lucky. I said, what's going on, Coach? Like, baseball coach, the assistant baseball coach, the JV baseball coach, he just took another job somewhere else. He goes, you want to coach baseball? He didn't ask me twice. I said, yes, sir. So I became the JV baseball coach.
Who was the head coach at that time?
San Felipe was the head baseball coach.
Oh, San Felipe. I remember him.
And Tony Leal was a varsity assistant.
Okay.
So here I am at the new school where the school's at now. My first job, and I'm coaching baseball. And I'm like,
I made it.
I made it. So, finished off the year, and I had some good days in the classroom, and some of these kids, you're not a teacher, you're a permanent sub, so they push your buttons a little bit and stuff like that, and it was all great, and in the afternoons I was coaching baseball. I loved it, it was great. Then the end of the year comes around, Coach Michael, hey, got a football slot for you, freshman football. You can do both. So then I became a permanent teacher.
Okay.
And then ever since then, I've been there. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years in. Our head coach, Coach San Felipe, he retires. and then Coach Tony Leal takes over. So Tony Leal became our head coach for a couple of years, and I became his assistant coach. Tony Leal's a great coach. He's a great mentor. And he taught me a lot of things, how to handle a lot of situations, just like Coach Sanfilippo did. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And then Tony Leal left, and then I became the head coach.
What year was that?
Shoot. 26 years down the road.
26 years ago.
26 years ago,
he became.
Yeah, I became the head coach. And, and I had, Coach Amaya had hired me, and then Coach Garza had taken over. And I was doing football and baseball. I think it was 2 or 3 years of football, freshman, and then the JV. Back then, it was only 2 coaches. One guy that coached the offense, one coached the defense, and then that was it. So, we learned either the offense. We had to learn both. We learned offense and defense, and it was just one of those things that it was great, And then I got lucky. I think it's my 4th or 5th year. I got moved up to coach the varsity defensive line. Right? Well, Coach Amaya is a head coach, and we won our first district championship. But I remember my first year on the sideline coaching varsity. And we had Henry Calleja. Henry Calleja was our running backs coach. And he would always tell me, man, you made it. It's awesome. To coach with the coaches that coached you in high school. This is like an honor for me and things like that. And if you don't know Henry, he's always up to something. So he goes, hey, Coach Amaya needs to see you. Right? This is before the game. We're going in the locker room. And make sure you go see Coach Amaya. So we're playing here at Leo Aguilar Stadium. So we go into the dressing room. So I go look for Coach Amaya. I said, Coach, you were looking for me? No, sir. Why? Well, Henry told me to come look for you. And he just smiles and he goes, he got you, huh? And I was like, yep. Thanks, Coach. I'm sorry. Sorry I bothered you. And so I go look for Henry. I said, man, I can't believe you did that, bro. It's my first game on the varsity. And you maybe go ask Coach Amaya right before the game, So we get playing, and my defensive line struggling a little bit early in the game, and Coach Amaya just comes around, turns around, and just starts, telling me some nice words on the sideline. And I took it like a champ, and but I'm thinking wow, I just got yelled at, I need to fix this, and it's just one of those situations where I never thought that was going to happen, but understanding the situation. So I get my kids and I talk to them and say, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. So we get them going. So, we end up winning the game. And at the end of the game, of course, I'm still a little down because I got yelled at because I didn't do my job. And Henry goes yeah, you wanted to coach varsity football, huh? You got your first ripping, huh? And I just look at him and said, thanks, Henry. Appreciate that, man.
Gee, so Coach, for those 26 years you've coached football and you've coached baseball under some good leaders. I mean, you were assistant under Luis Sanfilippo and Tony Yan. Tony Yan played in I think the 2007 state championship with Harlingen South. So I mean, you got been in some great guys. So you become the head coach, and that's one of the biggest things I wanted you on here because when I talked to you about this, it was 25 years, now it's 26. But I'm thinking you've been a head coach for 25, 26 years for a 6A program. So that's got to say something good about you being the head coach and leading this program. So with that, Coach, I want to ask a couple things because I know if I don't, some other coaches are going to get on me for not asking you. But let's talk about baseball season. During baseball season, do you have a routine that you do for game days, away or home?
Yes, I do. I like to have certain things done a certain way. If we're playing at home, as for example, 4th period, I'll go out, put the flag up. This is my time, my alone time.
Got you.
In the morning, we have first period football, so I don't think too much about game. I know it's game day, but football, and then I go to class. Usually by fourth period, it calms down. So that's when I start setting up things at the ballpark and setting up the flag, opening up the press box, things like that, setting everything up, putting the bases out, all these little things that you know. And to me, I do it because it calms me down.
Gotcha. Yeah.
The calm before the storm. And I usually sit there and think about different situations and things like that. And it's just sometimes I'll sit in my office. Like if we're playing away, I'll sit in my office fourth period and just think about, okay, this, make sure, if the game's going this way, we got to do this and things like that. So routine wise, I really don't have a routine. It's just things that I have to get done. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter what order I get them done. It's just one of those things that they got to get done and I'll get them done. And the kids already know game day. We're playing at home. We're bunting, during the period, and then we'll hit after school. Okay. And then we'll get going. If we're playing away, we'll suit up. I'll go get changed, and then we'll hit in the gym, and then we'll get on a bus and go. But to have a routine, not really.
No, not like I'm gonna eat Subway that day or no.
Not with this body.
Coach, I want to talk about this because I've when I saw it, I was fortunate to see it on TV and stuff. Is the 2021 season? You all go 5 rounds, correct? And I don't, for the viewers and listeners, don't think that I'm all the other 20 some seasons he was there. We'll get to those, but I want to talk this one because it's fresh in my mind. I'm looking at this. You go 5 rounds, correct? But I'm saying is that you did not win district that year?
We did not win
Harlingen, district. What I'm looking at right now, which is 14-0, and you all were 11-3.
Yeah.
Who'd you lose to those 3?
We lost to Harlingen twice, and we lost to, who else did we lose to? I think we lost to Harlingen South one time, I think. I think that was our 3rd loss. But we lost to Harlingen twice in an extra inning ball game, and then we lost the last game to them at the last game of the season, and then we lost to Harlingen South in the middle of the season, something like that. That season was amazing, and and every season is something sparks the team up and things like that, and that was one of those seasons that it was a challenging season. A lot of people say, well, yeah, this is where you guys ended up, yeah, but it was very challenging. Victor Loa, which was our best pitcher for that team, he didn't pitch our year till the last couple of games, and he was hurt. He came back, and he led the way. The other kids kind of picked up the pace, hitting the ball, and played defense behind him. You go to that, and but I think the changing point of our team when we became real close was we're in Brownsville playing in that second or 3rd tournament. I don't remember which one it was. But we're playing, and Victor Loa went to go get his results from his arm. So Victor Loa shows up in his jersey and shorts into the dugout. I just kind of look at him, and he knew he was wrong by not being fully clothed in a uniform, because that's the only way. If you're going to suit up, you suit up in a uniform. So he apologized, Coach, I'm sorry. And I said, it's all right. Like, don't worry about it. We're good. So he gave me some bad news. He goes, Coach, I'm done. He goes, maybe at the end of the year I'll be back. So we ended up winning that game. So I get the kids at the end, and I just told them. I said, look, that guy right there, I pointed at Victor Loa. I said, he's done for the year. He's done. He's not playing. I said, doctor gave him some bad news today. He's not playing the rest of the year. So one of you guys, or 2 or 3 of you guys, are going to have to step up and replace that. I said, until one of you guys steps up, or 2 or 3 step up, we're going to have a great team. And sure enough, we had a couple guys step up, and we just blended together. Once they knew he wasn't playing, a couple other kids stepped up. Yeah. And it was just one of those things where and then we lose Oscar Franco. We lose Hector for a while. Hector got hit. He tried to hit the ball. The ball hit the bat, hit his eye. He looked like a chipmunk, with a big old eye, But, it just a lot of little things like that happen. And then what a lot of people remember of that squad was I won all the flips. And they're like, how did you win all the flips? And I was just lucky. You know, in the game of baseball, you have to be lucky. You know, and that's what I tell everybody. Sometimes I'm just lucky. I just feel lucky. Or, you know, you go, you know, and me and Coach Carmona have talked about it, you know, when we flip and things like that. And he goes, Coach, how do you win all these flips? I said, Coach Carmona, I said, I don't know. I said, I'm just lucky. He goes, you know, I just think about, and the last thing that pops in my head is, you know, 'cause now when you make the playoffs, it's, you go into the coach's handbook and you pick a school and it's odd or even, you know, in the playoff when you're playing somebody far away. So we picked a couple schools that, you know, that I just woke up thinking, you know what, today we're going to go on. And I'd go into the book and I just, okay, this school looks good. And I would pick it. And then we tell the coach, hey, and he'd make the wrong call, you know, the odd or even call, and it was wrong. So we ended up winning those. And the only one I lost was that second round against Brendan, the Brendan Cubs. We had to go 2 out of 3. But that first game we beat PSJ, and Victor Lowell pitched at home, and that was great. That was awesome. And then we played Brendan, and that's probably one of the most stressful weeks for me because we had to play. It was 2 out of 3, and now do I pitch Victor Loa the first game or do I pitch him the second game? Our second pitcher that year was Sidney Moore because we had lost to Oscar Franco. Oscar Franco was our number 1 till he got hurt. So Oscar Franco stepped up and pitched, and then you know, we get going, and the whole week everybody's asking me like, Coach, who are you gonna pitch first? I was like, I don't know. Like, tell you the truth. So we're playing on a Friday. So all week long, Wednesday comes around and everybody's asking me like, man, who you gonna throw? Who you gonna throw? Like, and I was like, you know what? I don't know. Thursday comes around, I still don't have it. So Friday morning, I call Sidney Moore and Victor Loa. So I said, look, it's a tough decision, man. Tough decision. I said both of them can be wrong. Both of them can be right. It just depends how we play as a team. So I said, Victor Loa, I'm going to explain to you first. I know you want to throw the first game. I said, but we throw you the first game. You can't shut that second game down. And he goes, what do you mean? Like, if I max you out with pitches, I said, you're done. I said, I can't use it that second game. I said, throw Sidney Moore first. We get the lead. You can close that game off, and then you'll start for that next day.
Next one.
So Victor was like, Coach, let's do it. Well, that's what we ended up doing. We threw Sidney Moore, and Sidney Moore kept those guys off balance. Like, they scored a couple of runs. Well, we came back late in the game and took the lead and won. And who did I bring in that 7th inning? Victor Loa. Closed out the game. And the kids are looking at me like, Coach, man, like, you're a magician. Like, I said, no. I said, I didn't know it was going to happen like this. I'm like, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, it just hits you like, okay, stop thinking about it too much. Just make a decision. So, you know, we go the next day. Victor Loa's pitching. Yep. And we end up pitching a great ball game. We win. You know, we're headed to the 3rd round.
Which was Edinburgh Villa. I think I went
Yeah,
to that. I
Edinburgh
went
Villa.
to that game. I think it was the first playoff game I had gone in years, and I kept thinking, man, I got to go home because I'm going to be the bad luck here. Salt. Coach Morales is going to be looking and say, hey, you need to leave, man. You haven't been here in 20-some years, and, you know, since you graduated. Yeah. But so you play Edinburgh Villa.
Yeah, play Edinburgh Villa.
And Coach, along the way, when let's say the first game, like when you were talking, you were with Brendan and you go 2 out of 3, had you already flipped for, like, in case, well, you kind of already know who your opponent is.
Yeah.
But you don't flip until the actual the Brendan
that
game
Monday.
is over.
Yeah. As soon as that next week, we flip that Monday.
Okay.
So
who gets to decide? Like, I'm gonna call the team, or I'm gonna say the school, and they get to call it like.
Well, we'll just kind of we either
just
will
talk
flip
about-
for it,
okay.
or we'll say, "Hey, coach, you want to call it?" And he goes, "Yeah," or "You want to call it, or you want to
Okay.
flip?" And we'll go from there. So, and then we played Edinburgh Vela. So Edinburgh Vela had a great team, and we decided to go one game. So we end up winning the flip. Well, we won the flip, and we won the home game. So they got to come down here and play us. So we've always had this rule, and Jermaine was a lot of times that Jermaine Castillo, their center fielder, where we do push-ups for him, because he was the kind of kid that he would hit the ball and kind of look at the ball instead of running. So we're in the, and like I tell these guys, like, you hit the ball, you run. I said, there's 2 umpires or there's 4 umpires. They'll let you know whether it's a foul ball or a fair ball. You just run. So, it comes to a situation like that. Jermaine's hitting. He hits a ground ball. And it's a double play, but he's hustling to first base. Well, he beats the throw out. Well, we had a runner at second base. Well, I'm sending the guy. I say either we're going to win it or lose it here. So I send the guy from second all the way to home. Well, he makes the bad throw to first base. We win the game. Los Fresnos goes crazy. And it's the first time ever that we've been to the third round, past the third round.
Wow.
And it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, and I remember, because my wife makes fun of me, like, man, you were jumping up and down. Like, we've never seen you jump that high. I was like, well, I said, we've never been to the third round.
So I was the good luck then.
Yeah.
Man, I should have gone to the next games every other
Yeah.
day. But I was like, oh, that. But now, Coach, that is, I remember seeing that game. I remember Jermaine. I got to coach him in middle school. Great kid. So you're on a run. So talk to me a little bit about practices. How are you running your practice that time? Because now you've never been to third round or been right past third round. So how are you? What are you thinking, man? Do I change it up? Do I keep going? Like, I know the team's feeling good, the community's feeling good, but how do you keep everybody from being still focused?
Well, our rally cry that year was, "Give me one more Monday,"
Okay.
because we were so close. We didn't want to leave each other. So, we came up with a rally cry, "Give me one more Monday," and that's what we kept saying, "Give me one more Monday." And it's funny. I'm gonna go back to the Vela game. I go in there and get dressed before the game, and we're hitting in the back gym. Well, there's this reporter in the back gym. I'm walking in, and I don't remember who I looked at, and I said, because that's, like, to me, that's kind of a distraction already, first of all. So I'm like they had all week to come, right? I'm thinking in my head. So, "Coach, he wants to talk to you." Like, "Bro, are you serious?" Like, "Yeah, like, we're gonna hit." Like, so I go over there and I talk to him, and then he goes, "Coach, we want to interview you right before the game, like right now, and 2 of your players." I said, "We're hitting right now. Like, this is what we do. Like, I want these kids focused up. Coach, it won't take long." So I get interviewed real quick, and the 2 guys get interviewed, and the whole time I'm shaking my head like, man, like, this is, like, not good. Like, just the scenario, and I'm like, well, let's hit. And so we're about 2 minutes before the game starts. I get Coach Cantu walk into the dugout with a reporter. So he goes, "Coach, I want to interview you right now." And I look at him like, "Coach, like, we're going to take the field in 2 minutes. Like, we're going to get ready to go. Like, it's kind of late now." He goes, "Coach, come on." Like, So I said, "Okay, Coach." So I get the interview done, and I'm going, that's 2 already, right? Thinking in my head, like, that's 2 already. Like, so, and then, well, we end up winning the game. So after the game, I get, I talk to the reporter and everything, and I shared the story about, how, I'm glad Coach Cantu came with you, because if not, I would have told you no. Like, I'm trying to get ready for a game, and you're going to interview me. Like, he goes, "No, that's what he told me." I said, "Okay." Like, And to this day, Coach Cantu like, hey, if a reporter comes, you got to know, you got to give him an interview, like. So, but that's a funny story, like and I'm not, you can say that's one of my kind of like things that I don't like to do right before a game is that. So, we get to the third, we get past the third round. So our Mondays usually was a day of trying to get everything set up, for the playoff game, trying to keep these kids positive, and I kept telling them like, so now we're playing Round Rock, from Austin, and I'm like,
Are you all ranked at this time?
no, we're not ranked.
But Round Rock.
Round Rock has 6 Division I guys. A guy throwing 92, 93, about 6'4", 6'5". And I'm just like, we can do this. Like, I got to sell it to these kids. Like, we can do this. So get all the paperwork done Monday. I show up to practice. I said, guys, look. I said, these guys are great ball players. I said, they're just like you guys. They might be a little taller, stronger, faster. Doesn't matter. All we got to do is go out there and play the game. Get 21 outs and we'll be okay. Don't give up any more than 21 outs and we'll be okay. And I don't remember someone, Coach, but they throw the ball hard. I said, don't worry. We'll crank up the machine. We're going to hit. And we went through a regular practice and stuff. Oh, we look kind of bad swinging the bat Monday and Tuesday. So I'm telling these guys, like, man, we don't look so good. Man. Those guys throw the ball. They're throwing in the mid-80s, 90, 91. And I'm like, man, like, and I think it was Coach Inskeep. Coach, we'll be okay. Like, don't worry about it. Like, we'll be okay. All right. Well, comes Wednesday, we start hitting the ball a little bit better. So I was like, all right, man, like, no big deal. Well, comes Thursday. Thursday's a short day, and trying to keep these kids focused, and the big spill after Thursday is like, hey, we're here. We deserve to be here. All right, let's go. So I said, remember, one more Monday. That should be in your mind every day. One more Monday. I remember letting them know that. So they walk off. And the coach was like, you're confident? It's like, yeah. I said, we'll be okay, man. Like, we're going to hit the ball. We're going to play great defense. Victor's going to shut them down. I said, and we'll be okay. I said, those guys don't know. Right now the pressure's on them because they're going to 1-game series. We had nothing to lose. Everything to gain. So we get on the bus, and so we stop at Chick-fil-A, the same place we stopped the week before. Picked up Chick-fil-A and head to Corpus to play in Cabanas. So we get to Cabanas, and the kids had played there before, so they were okay with it. We had played there early in the season, and we're okay. Kids are fired up. We get there and walk the stadium. Hey, like, there's gonna be a bunch of people. Hey, we just gotta, bear it down, and we'll be okay. We get our hitting done and stuff like that, and game starts, and we just happened to destroy them that game, 11-2, and everybody contributed in their own way. Victor threw a hell of a game, couple of catches. Matt Padilla made in the outfield. He hit a home run. Everybody contributed, and it was a great team win. So now we're headed to the 5th round, which no team from Los Fresnos has ever been there. And I'm like, I'm so happy for these kids because they've worked their tail off, and they're busting their ass, and they're doing everything that we're asking them to do, and we're headed to the 5th round. Now what can I say now? It's like we've never been there before, just like we've never been to the 4th round. So we're playing Smithson Valley.
Back at Cabanas Field.
Well, let me tell you before. So we're playing Smithson Valley. So we win the flip.
Okay.
And that was right the year after COVID, right? So everything was still kind of jibber jabber around here. And we win the flip. So we win the flip to play at home.
Okay.
Which a lot of people don't know.
Whoa. See, that's what I'm saying. I didn't know that one. Wow.
So we called UTRGV, see if we can get their stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through all kinds of calling people and this and that. And at the end of everything that happened, they told us no. because of COVID situations, which we understood, but we were trying to get those guys to come down here. So, which we wanted to flip and everything, but we didn't have a big place to play.
Yeah, to put them in, house them.
We go back to Cabinets. And it's a great game. It's a great game. I remember our trainer telling me, Coach, we got a rally going. And I think it was the sixth inning. Coach, we got a rally going. And the trainer looks at me like, Coach, some rain's coming. And I was like, don't even say that. Like, we got them. We got them where we want them. Yeah. And then as soon as she said that, it comes down. And it doesn't stop. Yeah. Nope. So the people at Corpus put us in the dressing room because we were in a dugout and we're getting wet. They get on the bus, and they're sitting in the bus. So our kids go into the dressing room, and they're sitting there, and we're trying. Hopefully the rain can go by, but it's just a big old storm. It's a monsoon. So I get called back from the dressing room, come back, and we're sitting there trying to discuss what we're going to do and things like that. And
because what inning were you in this one?
I think it was the sixth inning.
Sixth inning.
I think it was the sixth inning. And so we're at it, and so we finally decide to play the following day. Well, here we are in Corpus, and I look at Coach Cantu and I tell him, Coach, I don't want to go back home. Like, go back home and then come back the next morning and play. So we're going to be disadvantaged. They're going to stay here. So he gets on the phone, calls some people, and they say, yeah, Coach, you guys can stay there. So we end up, so now we're looking for a hotel.
Yeah, that's a whole other.
So we're looking for a hotel. And that's not even the best part to it. But we're looking for a hotel. You know, I head back to the dressing room to let the kids know, hey, text your parents. This is the situation, and we're going to play tomorrow at this time. And, you know, this is what we're doing. So right now we're looking for a hotel. We don't know yet. As soon as Coach Cantu gets off talking to people, we'll let you know where we're staying, and we'll go from there. So I said, you guys stay in here, talk to them, and then go back. We got a hotel. Okay. So, hey, this is where we're staying. Let's text your parents. So it's a one-day trip. We're thinking it's a one-day trip. These kids don't take anything. Okay. No underwear, no socks, nothing. Just the clothes we wore up and back, because that's what we had done a week before. So, put it to you this way: some of the parents went out to Walmart and they bought underwear, they bought socks, they bought toothbrush, toothpaste. Wow. Deodorant, and here we are at the hotel giving stuff out, you know, and then we got to feed them that night. So we're feeding them, and then, Coach, what are we going to do for breakfast tomorrow morning? Like, oh, shoot, like, okay. So we're sitting there, and all right, so that morning, we end up walking to Whataburger. Me and Coach Cantu end up walking to Whataburger. We'll bring breakfast back. So we eat there. And then we have our team meeting, and then we head back. So we start off the game in that situation. So we tie up the game in that inning, and Victor Lowell runs out of pitches. So I got to bring in Sidney Moore. And Sidney Moore gets in trouble, gives up a hit. We give up the run, and they go up by 1. So we come up. We got a chance to win it. You know, we just didn't come up with a clutch hit. And that team was a special team. Very, you know, they worked their tails off. They got whatever they deserved. You know, I'm very proud of them for making history. And that's one thing that we wanted to do with this, you know, and I always tell these guys, how are they going to remember you by? You know, what legend are you going to leave behind? You know, and that's kind of the thing with these kids. Like, your class is going to leave something behind. How are they going to remember you by? You know, and we've carried that along with these guys, and you know, and all our teams lately have been very successful, getting to the third, you know, second round, third round, winning district champs. We've been district champs 4 times in a row, you know. So we have the program going where it wants to go, you know, and, you know, we're getting a lot of support from the community, from the administrators, from, you know, it's awesome feeling to have people follow you and support you and things like that, and always patting you on the back, telling you kids are great and things like that, you know. So I really enjoy that part for these kids that are doing it. And these kids coming up feel like, you know what? Why can't it be us too?
Yeah.
So,
With that, Coach, and I mean, I maybe it's because I should do more research, but my part is Smith Valley. Did they go on and win the state championship?
they got beat in the Final Four.
Oh, okay.
We got to the Elite Eight, and they got beat in the Final Four.
Okay.
So,
Who won that year, the state championship? Was it?
it was a team from Dallas. I don't remember the name of the team, but it was a team from Dallas.
Now, my next question, Coach. So, about maybe less than a year later in 2022, which is 2021 is the run. So you're talking late. That's in May. June, I think June 3rd is when they're playing. In 2022, UIL sends out they had like a legislative council, and they said they'll be making the best of 3 series in all rounds of 5A and 6A up to the state tournament. Is that something that may or may not Los Fresnos have been part of? I mean, because my thing is now, because you won, except the 2 or 3 out of Brennan, and then that one. But now they're saying, now this UIO comes up with this rule. I mean, I just want to ask if that's something you.
Well, I don't know if that was why, but a lot of coaches in the state have reached out to me, and they always say, like, man, it's the Los Fresnos rule, or it's Coach Mo's rule.
Coach Mo's.
Right? But, you know, I always want to give my team the best situation to win. And I think that's what I've always done here with these kids is if we have one good pitcher, we're going to ride him. If we have 2 or 3, we're going to ride him. And it's just things like that, you know. But you always have to coach the kids you have. And that year we were very lucky to have Victor back at the end of the season, and he carried us, you know. And, you know, it's just one of those situations. And going back to it, you know, I know you asked me about, you know, we lost 3 games that year, and that last game against Harlingen. Well, Harlingen was district champs, so they were parading their trophy around and stuff, and we were okay. I was okay with it. But I used that, and we used that as a little fire for our kids. And as much as they wanted to beat them that last game, we ended up losing at the end. And the kids were crying, and you know, because they wanted to beat them, and they were very competitive. And the first question was, "Why are you guys crying?" I kind of looked at them like that, and Coach, because we lost. I said, all right. I said, we lost. That's fine. I said, did we play well? Yeah. I said, at the end of the day, I said, mark my word right now. I went like that. Mark my word. I said, we're going to be the last team standing in the valley. I said, if you don't believe that, don't get on the bus next week. I said, we are. I said, I'm telling you right now, because we have the best team, and we're playing very good baseball right now. And sure enough, we ended up in the 5th round, the Elite Eight, you know. And it was just these kids believed in what we were doing, and we were just hitting our stride. And of course, you have to be lucky, like I said. You know, there's got to be some luck.
Well, yeah, I got you.
Involved.
Coach, I mean, I don't want to like, because that was a 2021 year, and you became head coach in, I think, 2001. I don't want to like take away from any other ones. What's other than that season, that game that I brought it up? What's another year that you remember some certain games that you say, man, I remember this game? And the one I remember is because George Villafranca hitting that one against, I think it was Vela.
Yeah, Edinburgh Vela.
Because it was like
we were down 1, and
that was maybe 2 or 3 years prior, right? Like 2018, maybe something.
And he hit a home run to win the game.
Yeah, I remember.
And then, you know, that's a memorable one. But one of them that kind of sticks out, I think it was my second year as a head coach. We throw a no-hitter. They throw a no-hitter against us.
Okay.
Like, they no-hit us. Like, we didn't get a hit. We got 1 base runner on, 1. And we win. We beat Mercedes 1-0.
Really?
Yeah. And I still remember that because I still talk about it. I said the pitcher was very good that night. He made one mistake. He walked one guy. Well, we bunted him over to second base. We hit. No, they missed the ball, so he goes to third base. We had a sacrifice fly. We scored the run. And after that, we didn't do anything. So we ended up winning 1-0. So that's, you think about baseball, like pitcher made one mistake by walking that one guy. Right. And baseball's a funny game. Sometimes, you have all the luck in the world, and sometimes you don't. You might give up 10 hits and you still win. And the team has 4.
I'm gonna ask this question, Coach, because it just came to me right here. Talk to me about, and because I've talked to some baseball coaches, and I always ask questions, and they get real, not agitated or a little bit like they get like, what when you have a left-handed third baseman? Explain that to me, because you're talking like, explain it to me like I'm 8 years old. Let's do that, because I'm thinking, he's left-handed, but then they start going like baseball coaches will go off. Explain that to me. Explain to me. I want to know.
That's not a position a left-hander should be playing. A left-handed kid should be playing first or any outfield position or a pitcher. And just because of his fielding range, it makes it tougher for him to field balls because I always say he's from the wrong side.
Okay, I got you.
So
that means he's got to turn this way to do throw, that.
Yes.
Instead of just grabbing and throwing. Yeah, he just.
So just little things like that, and in Little League you see that, when I watch Little League, and to me the Little League is funny because kids are having fun. Yeah, that's what they're supposed to be doing, and I'm thinking like, no, like that's not right. But it's Little League, so they're having fun. Let them enjoy it. They're little kids and things like that. But once you get to a certain age, it's like if you see a third baseman left-handed, like no, he don't need to play there or shortstop. Or
okay, so
base.
Now you're saying those as well. As well, because they gotta turn to throw. They're not gonna be consistent.
So it's a little.
But like the outfield and first base, you're good.
Yeah.
What about catcher?
No, catcher no.
You don't want a left hand. No. Reason because same thing. He's got to turn.
Same thing. He's got to turn.
All right. Okay. I'm just.
No, that's a great question.
That's a good, because I was think about that. I was laughing because I was thinking, everybody gets all, and I get it, and I'm like, okay. I don't know baseball that much, but I wanted to ask that. Because I'm probably the only guy out there.
That's a great question to ask. So people don't know,
If I were to talk to some of your former players, what do you say? What would they say you would say in practice a lot?
Dang.
Do you say a lot of different things?
Give me 5. 5 push-ups.
Oh. Give me 5 push-ups. So that means they didn't do something right unless you.
Yeah. I really don't know. I say a lot of things. Sometimes I say too many things.
I got
you. But basically when they know, that's 5.
That's 5.
Yeah.
They know. When they say that's 5, they're like, I made a mistake and stuff.
Yeah, and that's the way we take care of things, and
Talk to me about poles. That's another thing that I talked to about baseball kids. Coach, you want to run a pole? And I was like, okay, explain to me a pole. You run from home or where do you run?
We run from left field. We go pole to pole. So
Okay.
you go left field to right field. The foul poles.
What's the distance?
Coach, I couldn't tell you.
Okay, so
off the top of my head, but you just run back and forth, get some conditioning in.
Okay, that's because I'm
And
ready.
then
Poles.
Another thing we run is triangles. Where we start at home, and you run the right field pole to the left field pole to home.
Okay, gotcha. All
So, just a little conditioning.
Oh, that'd get me tired already. Just telling me what you're telling me there.
But I don't. I'm trying to think what things I say at practice. Like,
we can come back to that because we're good. Because I got more questions because we're gonna get there. Now, there's 9 players on the field, so you usually carry how much? How many do you really carry on the? How many? If there's 9 on the field, how many are in the dugout?
I try to carry about anywhere from 18 to 20 kids.
Okay.
I try to have 2 kids at each position, so they don't get comfortable. Like, I don't have anybody behind me, so.
Gotcha.
So, it kind of pushes them, put them in pressure situations. Hey, you're not cutting it out. We're going to go with the next guy. So I try to have 2 guys at each position. Sometimes I have 3, depending on the senior class I have or whatever. Like this past year, I had 21 kids on the team. That's the most. I graduated 14. So it's just one of those situations where I had 14 seniors and a great bunch of kids.
So with that, you have let's say you have 21, so you have 9, so that means you have I'm gonna do my math wrong, right? 12 on the inside, and some of them may touch the field, may not touch the field. What if they come to you, mid-season, around the season, they say, Coach, I think I'm gonna quit. What's something that we would talk to them about?
Well, I have the 24-hour rule. Kid comes to me and wants to talk to me about quitting. I said, look, let's talk right now. I'm going to give you 24 hours to think about your decision. In 24 hours, if you can convince me that that's why you're quitting, then I'll accept that.
Gotcha.
But you got 24 hours. Because sometimes kids make decisions just at the spur of the moment. They're mad or something happened and they don't like it, and I'm done. I'm done playing. Instead of saying, you know what, let me back off and let me think about it. So we have the 24-hour rule, and we go from there. And usually I'll sit there and talk to them. So why, and they'll tell me why. And I said, well, explain to me why I should play you. Things like that, and put them, get their perspective of what they're seeing. And maybe I'm not seeing what they're seeing.
Gotcha.
And we go from there. But usually I have the 24-hour rule, and I tell them, like, look, we talked about it. If you can come back tomorrow and talk to me about it, and if that's what you want to do, I'm going to support you.
No, you're right. But you're talking about that 20. It's a great rule because, kids do make, they impulse. They impulse like this happens, and I'm not going to be a part of this.
Yeah.
But then you think about it. I think it's just like with adults too. Sometimes we say stuff and we're just like, oh man, I shouldn't have said that. But then you think about it, but I think that's a great rule. Coach, this part of the podcast, I've cherished this part. I call it lasting impact. So what I do, Coach, is I reach out to former players, and this one I reached out to former players real quick. Coach Tony Leal, you should have called me back, but you didn't. But that's okay. I'm gonna call him out on the podcast on this podcast. I can do that, right? It's my podcast. But with that, Coach, I reached out to former players, and I did reach out to a former coach, but that's a whole other thing. And I asked them to describe you in one word, and then elaborate why they use that word. So I'm gonna read what they said, and then I'll tell you at the end who said it. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Coach. Honored. It was an honor playing for an amazing baseball coach in Coach Morales. His leadership skills as a baseball coach, a passion for the game like no other person I know, and his dedication to make all the difference in our teams. He inspired me to be a coach as I went off to college, not knowing that one day I would be around his coaching skills. He started off his head coaching job my junior year at the varsity level for Los Fresnos. I have been honored to have been coached by Coach Morales for 3 years at the varsity level, and his hard work and dedication has paid off the last decade or longer, making some deep rounds in the playoffs. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, Coach Morales, for pushing me and my teammates to get the best out of us. That's from Ralph Rodriguez. And I know we talked about Ralph. You said Ralph was a pitcher for you, right? And you said you would go up to him, and you want to talk about that a little bit?
Ralph was one of those quiet leaders. He did everything he could do for us. He played center field for us, and when he didn't pitch, he played center field, and he was one of our go guys, and he didn't throw the ball very hard, but he threw strikes and always in command of his pitches and things like that. And, he was very quiet. He was a quiet leader, but.
Yeah, because I remember you would tell me, he was like, Ralph, are you ready? And he would just he would just nod.
Yeah, he would just, you ready to pitch? And he would just say, he wouldn't say too much.
Coach, the next one, it says, never satisfied. In one word, you could describe Coach Mo is that he was never satisfied, but in a good way. Because when I first read that, I was like, okay. But he said, but in a good way. He wouldn't just want us to practice the rep until we got it right. He would want us to practice until we couldn't get it wrong. And then even more, just to secure that perfection that he wanted for us. That itself motivated me to try and be the best at what I do on and off the field as a person and as a baseball player. That's from Derek Garcia. That's the gentleman that just went off to play in
the one that just got to play in that Coaches Association All-Star game. He was the MVP. That was a great honor. That was the first kid from Los Fresnos High School to ever play. And you're talking about the top 48 kids in the state of Texas.
Wow. So yeah,
And then for him to win the All-Star MVP,
no,
that
man.
says a lot about that kid. And you just very proud. It's like being a dad and very proud of the outcome of what happened and just him being on the field, the way he conducts himself. He's got a bright future at Laredo. He's going to go play in
That's where
Laredo.
he's gonna play. Okay.
And just one of those situations where he's getting everything he's worked hard for.
Gotcha.
You know.
The next one, Coach, knowledgeable. Coach Morales knew the game inside and out, not just the game of baseball, but would be there for you if you ever needed advice with life or anything you could think of. He taught us about the game, about life, and helped us learn lessons that to this day help us out in real life. Especially a saying he's used to say, control what you can control, which maybe that's what you.
Yeah.
He goes, especially a saying he used to say, control what you can control, which I carry that saying with me till today. That's from Miguel Gonzalez. He played one of your shortstops.
Yeah, he was my shortstop. That's another quiet leader that was an awesome kid and one of those kids that you depend on and to this day he's probably one of our best shortstops to come around. And I wish him. I know he was in the military and he's doing a great job with his life and things like that. So
good. That's good. Next one, Coach. Coach wasn't just a teacher of the game. He was a huge part of shaping the man I am today. He taught me discipline, accountability, and how to carry myself with purpose, both in on and off the field. His favorite saying, "Play like it's your last game," stuck with me far beyond baseball. He believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself, and he pushed me to grow, lead, and never settle. Because of him, I'm not just a better player. I'm a better person. That's from J.J. Sanchez.
J.J. Sanchez. He's something else. That guy would always push my buttons. Always found a way to push my buttons and love him to death. And he still comes around. And
he came to talk to our students at Liberty. Great motivator. Great. He had some very. One of the biggest things is as kids they think they see them play, but they don't know what goes into the playing.
Mm-hmm.
So JJ was able to talk to him about what he did. Whatever 3 or 4 days before the game, how it comes about, and the kids, and it was pretty good. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah, no, he's a class act, and he's all grown up, and wish him the best of luck there with the Toronto Blue Jays, and keep getting better and keep pitching.
Yes, sir. Next one, Coach. Discipline. Coach Mo has installed that in me since the first day I played for him, which is why every year the teams he coaches are so successful. He's a winner and does it with discipline and knowing the game better than most. I die for him any given day of the week because he made me a better ball player, but also a better man. That's from Coach Victor Loa, Coach.
Wow, that's some big words there, and I know me and him have that close relationship, and he's always can pick up the phone and call me, and he's just a special dude.
Yeah.
One of those dudes that he knew what he wanted to do, and he works at it and gets whatever he wants because he works at it. And I know he's pitching at UTRGV, and he always reaches out and for a little advice once in a while and things like that, or just to talk, And I enjoy him, and he don't have to be that, but these guys do that, and I'm glad I'm making a big impact in these guys' lives, and that's what we're here for, and going back to, I know you asked me a question, or right now I'm thinking about what you asked me about what's one thing I say all the time, or, I tell my kids that I love them every day, even if we have a bad practice, even if they were terrible, and they'll call me out a couple of times when I don't say it at the end of practice. Coach, love you. And I'll tell them I love you too. And I do that just because it's something that sometimes they don't hear, or they're scared of saying it to somebody else.
Gotcha.
And there's nothing wrong with saying it. And that's what I try to tell them. Like, man, you got a set of parents. They love you. And to this day, I have both my parents, thank God. And I tell them I love them. I love them to death. And it's something that, I wish more young kids would do it with their parents.
Yeah, tell them.
And it's okay. You don't, like I tell them, you don't have to do it if you don't feel comfortable. But you need to do it. And once in a while, I'll get a phone call here or there, especially at the beginning of the year, with freshmen. Coach Morales says, "Yes, ma'am. This is so and so." Like, "Yes, ma'am. Is your son okay? Is everything okay?" "Yeah, I just wanted to call you and let you know that my son came home and told me he loved me." And I'm like, "Okay, like, and he's never done that before." I'm like, "Okay, ma'am. Like, what's going on?" Like, kind of like, "Well, ma'am," I said, that's one thing that I try to instill in these kids. I said, "Go home, tell your parents you love them." I said, because we're only here for a little bit in this earth.
Yes, sir.
So, if they can go home and tell their parents, they're okay with it, and and I go back and tell them the story about my parents. I tell them I love them and things like that, and you know, that's life. That's more important. And I hopefully, when they leave from the baseball program, that's one thing they'll carry with them. Not to be scared to tell anybody they love them.
Very
Because
true.
at the end of the day, they might have a bad day or whatever. And they might, at the end of the day, that's the only thing they might hear at the end of the day is, "I love you." And then they'll go home and whatever happens at home happens. At least they heard that they're
were
loved by
yes,
somebody.
yes, exactly. Coach, the next one, Coach, pillar. Coach Morales is truly a pillar in my life. Someone I look up to for his unwavering strength, constant support, and wise guidance. Even when I'm stubborn or set in my ways, he never gives up on me. He leads not just with words but with actions, teaching those around him the value of discipline, respect, and hard work through his own example. As a mentor, he doesn't tell you just what to do, he shows you how to live with purpose and integrity. His methods might seem tough or confusing when you're young, but as you grow older, everything starts to make sense. You realize that every lesson had a purpose and every standard he held us to what was preparing us for life beyond that game. He's also an anchor, always there to offer encouragement during tough times and celebrate victories, big or small, such as appearing in my wedding and the birth of his granddaughter, Gracie Marie. More than anything, he's an inspiration. His ability to lead, uplift, is something I admire deeply, and if I can grow to be even half of the man he is, I would consider that a true success. That's from Jesse Paredes, Coach. I get you, Coach.
That's something special, really, really special. And Jesse Paredes being one of my former players, and now he's a varsity assistant coach. Just taking him underneath his wing. He came from Hannah and took him underneath his, and he just became one of our best players and became close to me. You know, so means a lot to me what these guys are saying about me, and you know, just trying to bring them to teach them life skills, to be, great
Yeah.
gentlemen, and beyond that. That's awesome to hear from these guys, and I want to thank them all for those kind words.
Coach, and what I'm saw is I was fortunate to get somebody from your first years as a head coach and all the way to most recent Derek Garcia and Jesse Paredes in the middle. So I was fortunate Victor Loa along. I was fortunate to get them, and I really appreciate them out there. But I always feel I love this part, Coach, because we see it. We may not see it there, but later when they come to you and see you at stores and they, and they hug you and they ask you questions and they, "Hey, Coach, you're still there?" Or, Coach, even guys that I graduated high school, they'll be like, "Hey, is Coach Morales still there?" And I said, "Yes." So and it was funny. The only thing I can say the difference here is my years, the '90s, when you were there, the '90s, and you're Coach Morales. But around the way is Coach Mo, and we're like, I don't know who Coach Mo is. I know Coach Morales, but I know that I was telling the difference of who played in
Yeah,
the later years because they call you Coach Mo. But
yeah.
but Coach, next one. Hey, sports fans and podcast listeners. We know how much passion goes into every game and practice. And to truly shine, your team needs the best gear. That's why we're thrilled to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Game One. Game One isn't just a supplier, they're the premier provider of everything your team needs. From whether you're looking to outfit your entire league, get custom fan gear, or simply refresh your team's look, Game One delivers. Ready to elevate your game? Then you've got to reach out to Leo Zamaripa, your dedicated Game One sales representative. He's ready to help you with all your needs. You can reach Leo directly at 956 442 6844. That's 956 442 6844. So for all your team's apparels, uniform and equipment needs, remember the name, Game One. And tell Leo that One Time Outlet podcast sent you. Next, this we're gonna get away from that. We're gonna do the 7th inning stretch, which we're changing. We're not changing it because it's baseball. It's called 2-minute offense, but since it's baseball, we're calling it the 7th inning stretch. I want to thank Coach Morales for giving me that part. We're gonna run with it. Now I just want to let you know that a couple of coaches did give me something to ask you, so we're gonna go from there. So here we go, Coach. Beach day or camping?
Camping.
Camping. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Barbecue or tacos?
Barbecue.
George Strait or Alan Jackson?
I gotta say George Strait.
Sunrise or sunset?
Sunrise.
Sunrise. Fishing or golf?
Golf.
Major League or Bull Durham?
That's a tough one. I have to say Bull Durham.
Bull Durham, okay. Popcorn or peanuts?
Popcorn.
Ford or Chevy?
Ford.
Texas summer or Texas winter?
Summer.
Strikeout or caught stealing?
Yeah. I'll take a strikeout.
You take a strikeout? Text or call?
Probably text.
Probably text. Sosa or McGuire?
I'll take McGuire.
You take McGuire, okay. Chess or checkers?
Checkers.
Pitch a no-hitter or hit a grand slam?
Probably pitch a no-hitter.
Onion rings or French fries?
Onion rings.
Rock or country?
Country.
Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Thanksgiving or Christmas?
That's kind of hard, man. being coming from a family that's real tight, that we're always together.
You can say
and
both.
we're always together during those times, so it's kind of tough to pick one.
Gotcha.
I enjoy both of them, and spending that family time with each other, and
Gotcha.
So
both is fine.
both.
Okay, next one. One game or 3-game series?
One game.
Coach, and the last play. This is one I thought of this one, and I said I'm gonna ask those. And this is the last play of the 7th inning stretch. Should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's what. If you want to elaborate on the Pete Rose, no. Okay.
I say yes.
Say yes. Okay. All right. We're good with that. All right, Coach. I appreciate you taking time to do that. Talk to me. I'm some birds out there, or some not birds, some coaches out there telling me you've been to all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, start off when did you start that, or when did you make sure you were going to do that, or?
Well, we came up. It was me, Coach Cantu, Ralph Cantu, and Tony Alvarez. We were sitting in the coach's office during the season, and we're sitting there thinking all right, where are we going to go on our trip? Where are we going to go on our summer trip? So we're talking about it, and let's do all the ballparks. So we're like, all right. So Ralph is the guy he's the organizer. He sets everything. Sets everything up, and me and Tony Alvarez, yeah, it looks good. No, it doesn't look good. We got to leave this day, things like that. But he sets everything up, and that's awesome. It's just an awesome feeling to be to all 30 games, all 30 ballparks, and things like that. And it's, you get, to me, like I tell the kids, it's something that I love doing, going to a ballpark and seeing the different things they have there, and just things like that. And it's great to me to say that.
Do you remember the first one you went to?
We went to Baltimore.
That's the first one you went to,
Yeah.
The Baltimore Orioles. Okay.
Baltimore Orioles.
Okay, and then now some stadiums have been they made new ones. So like the Yankee one is a new one, right? So have you been to both?
Yes, I went to both new and old Yankee Stadium.
Okay.
The only one I didn't go to was the old Shea Stadium in New York, where the Mets play.
Okay.
But I got to see Citi Field. And Citi Field is funny because I was telling my mom this the other day, because we were watching the Braves and the Mets play in Citi Field. I said, Mom, that's the only place that the birds were flying underneath us while we were watching the game. And she goes, what do you mean? He goes, Mom, we were in the last row at the very top of the stadium. We could see our car where we had parked it. And I said, so we were that high and the birds were flying underneath us.
Wow.
And she was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. I said, those are the worst tickets we've ever had. But It was just one of those things. That was the first year that park was open, so we got those tickets, and it was awesome. So, but every park we go to has a story to it, and it's always fun because every time me, Ralph, and Tony hang out, it's like, hey, remember when we did this at this ballpark, and remember this at this ballpark, and this, and the funny story about our last ballpark was Seattle, the Mariners.
The most recent one.
No, I'm talking about we were down to our last ballpark.
Oh, okay.
Which was Seattle. Seattle's our last ballpark we hadn't been to. So, we've been collecting shot glasses, magnets, postcards, right? So each of us had, so we end up in Seattle, right? Awesome park. It's great. So first thing we do, walk around the stadium and see what Seattle's all about. So we go into the clubhouse store. So as we get there, they have a bag full of all the ballparks in a bag, the magnets, all the ballparks in the postcards and all the shot glasses. Or you can just buy them all at one place. And this was the only place that they had that at. And then we were like, all we had to do was come to Seattle and say, hey, you know what? We've been to all the ballparks. So we were like, oh my God. But that's it. It was funny. Like, things like that you look at it like, wow, we just come to Seattle. We would say, hey, we've been to all the ballparks.
So what year did it start? Like, if you don't mind me asking, what started?
Shoot, I couldn't tell you, Coach. I couldn't tell you, but.
And when was the Seattle last one? When was that one? So it's been a while.
It's been a while.
You've been to all 30 stadiums, but it's already been done. Like,
it's been done.
Yeah. Okay, well, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were maybe still lacking a couple or going this year.
We've done all of them. Now we're hitting up some minor league ballparks.
Okay.
It's just amazing when you go from watching the major leaguers to watching minor leagues. And to me, as a coach, I like seeing that because you get to watch these guys at the minor league level. They're playing to get to the next level, and they're busting their tail. They're out there working out before the game and doing all kinds of things, working on their, on drills and things like that. And it's just unbelievable. And I know the major leaguers do the same thing, but you can tell like these guys want to move up and things like that. And it's just a great feeling. And the atmosphere there at the minor league ballparks are a little bit more friendlier, just because it's so ballpark's smaller, and the players go out there and sign more autographs and things like that. So it's more fan friendly, especially for the little kids that are going to the minor league ballpark.
Gotcha. Coach, 25 years or 26 years? No, 26 years as the head coach, correct? What have you seen that has changed in that, in terms of the game itself? Let's start off with the game itself. What has changed in the game itself for those years?
Well, I think the kids are getting a little bit bigger. They're getting a little stronger, a little faster. But that goes, everywhere. And just, there's a lot more teaching going on. For us in our program, we try to teach all the basic stuff. Because if we can do the basic things, we're going to be a great team. The way we've been the last couple of years, or the last couple centuries, whatever you want to call it, But to me, if the kids can understand the basic part of the game, if you make 21 outs, more than likely you're going to win the game. And that goes from, where you don't have no errors, you make every single play, things like that. Because once you give a team another opportunity, they're going to take advantage of it. So I think just for us, I think these kids have learned to play the game the right way and making 21 outs. And that's our goal. Make 21 outs every game you play. And that carries over. And now all you got to do is score a couple of runs and you're going to win the game.
That's 25 years right there. Talk to me about, what would you tell a young coach? What would you tell a young coach who wants to coach baseball?
Just learn the game. Learn the ins and outs of the game. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of things going on, moving parts going on, all on one pitch. So, all the kids on the field have to know what they're doing. And once you teach them that, they're okay. But there's a lot of situations that as a young coach, you think you know, but you don't know. Because everything is okay. Well, this happens. Oh no, I don't know what to do there. So you really have to think about it. You have to study the game, as a young coach, because a lot of the times you know the game, but you don't know it. There's a lot of strategy to it, and you also have to see what kind of kid you have in your program. Okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and things like that. So, to me, just learn the game, learn from the old coaches, and just listen a lot. Listen and learn and watch what's going on.
Gotcha. This past last weekend, you were asked to talk to the Texas High School Coaches Association. How'd that come about?
Oh, I don't know. I guess because we've been so successful, and it was funny because I got an email and from the Texas High School Coaches Association saying, "Would you like to be one of our speakers?" So I read it and I was like, "Come on, man, somebody!" And I'm trying to remember the name, right, that sent me the email, and I'm thinking, you know what, these guys. It's not even true, right? Like this, there's no way they're gonna ask me. Like, I know we've been, and I'm thinking there's no way. So I told Coach Carmona, I said, Coach Carmona, hey man, they want me to speak at the thing. I said, Coach, but I don't know if it's true or not, man. It's like, so I was like, so I didn't respond to it. So I was like, man. So, well, I did some investigation, put it that way. So I looked up and I was like, oh yeah, it's a guy from Texas High School, I was like, shoot, man, like this is awesome. Like it's an honor to be, you know. So I was like, so I get home and I tell my wife, I said, hey, like they're asking me to speak at the Texas High School Coaches Association in July. And she was all excited, like, for real? Like, yeah, like, look at the email. And she goes, so are you gonna do it? I was like, well, I haven't responded to it. I was like, you need to do it. Like, and she was more excited than I was like, well, I don't know. I'm not into speaking into two, So I was like, so I finally emailed him back and I said, yeah, I'll do it. And, I ended up doing it. And when something like that happens, it's not about me. It's like I told the kids, it's not about me. It's about the program, the whole coaching staff. I'm getting the credit because I'm the head coach. I get to speak because I'm the head coach. At the end of the day, it's the coaches, the kids, the community, the school, everything like that. It boils down to all that stuff. Because without any of that part, I wouldn't be where I'm at. And like I said, the administration's been a big support for our baseball program and things like that. So, it was an awesome feeling. But, I told Coach Carmona, like, man, said the closer it gets, like, man, why did I do this? I'm thinking like why did I do this? Like, and then, as it got closer, I was like, man. So, well, we ended up doing it, man. Carmona and me ended up doing it, and all the other coaches helped out, put a little, the kids helped out with the video and stuff like that. So, it was awesome just to be up there to talk in front of the coaches. And once I got going, I was a little nervous at the beginning, but once I got going, it's like anything else, man. It's baseball. We know what we're doing.
So since you know what you're talking about,
and it's a funny story because, and Carmona was like, I think Carmona knows me pretty well. And the guy hosting the thing, he goes, Coach, you want to talk on the podium or you want a mic? And Carmona looks at me. I was like, okay, both. So I get both of them. And so he grabs the mic, puts it right there, right by him. So I was like, I start talking on the mic, right behind the podium. So I said, all right, I'm going to go down there. So I grabbed the mic. So I turn on the mic, and I got the clicker in my hand, which technology-wise, it's not me, right? That's why Carmona and Coach Paredes and Coach Uribe and Alex Garcia, all those guys they're in charge of all that stuff. Yeah. I'm old school. Hey, I know how to take attendance. I know how to write an email, things like that. I'm good with it. So I get down there, and so imagine me, I got the mic and I got the clicker, right? And I'm trying to see the clicker and talk at the same time. So I was like, guys, I said, do you guys mind if I don't use the mic? And they were like, yeah, go ahead. I said, I'm going to use my baseball voice. You guys got it? And he goes, yeah. So I turned off the mic, put the mic in my back pocket, and I kept going. I kept rolling. And at the end, I was like, I told Coach Omar, like, wow, like, I can't believe I put the mic away. And like, Coach, you're okay. They heard you, man. Like,
Yeah, they heard you. Yeah.
I was like, okay. But I was like, never did I ever think I'm put the mic in my back pocket and just, talk and things like that. But it was awesome just to be recognized in that situation where all the coaches are there and, things like that.
I think that's one of the biggest things about coaches. We figure it out along the way. Like you said, well, you know what? I'll figure it out. Like, I'm going to talk louder. You got to talk louder. And I think as coaches, I don't think the world doesn't end right away. We figure things out. Coach, real quick, what's a common myth in coaching?
And grind it out and go. I always think the harder you work, the greater things you're going to get. Sooner or later, you're going to get rewarded. Your kids are going to come around and things like that. If that's the only advice I could give to somebody, hard work, keep grinding, good things are going to happen. I promise. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week. But later on down the road, it's going to happen to you sooner or later. And a lot of these things happen for reasons. I always tell kids, I said, man, you're good. You do good things are going to happen to you. If you find a shortcut, I said, you're not going to get rewarded, man. Everything comes back, And we were talking about, the comfort zone. Coaches get in the comfort zone, and it's going back to that question you asked me, and comfort zone, and I think I need to share this story real quick because I did share it at coaching school. And I know you know me, and I'm always to myself, and just, hey, I talk to you a bunch, and I got this bright idea with the kids that we're going to do Santa Claus gifts, right, at one of the elementary schools.
Okay.
So I called LFE, the principal, and Ms. Grimaldo, and we talked, and I said, how would you feel? You pick out some kids, give me their names, their ages. I said, I'm going to get some kids here. I said, we're going to split them up and then go give out gifts at your school, before 2 days before Christmas is out. She said, Coach, that's a great idea. And so we kept talking. So we kept calling back and forth. I told the kids I told the baseball program. They were fired up about it. Like, all right. I said, so we made teams. I said, Coach, well, when are we going to? I said, like, just hold on. Ms. Grimaldo's working on it. So we got it done. And so next thing, maybe 2 or 3 days before I have to go, she goes, Coach, you mind if you dress up as Santa Claus?
And I was like, nah.
So I was like, oh my God.
That's right.
Like,
you look at your assistant, you're like, which one? Oribe, you're up.
So I was like, oh man. I was like, she goes, Coach, it's okay if you don't want to do it. I just wanted to throw it out there. Like, I said, ma'am, I'll do it. And I was like,
not your comfort zone.
Out of my comfort zone. Out of my comfort zone. That is totally not me. So I get to LFU. The kids are already over there.
Your wife's probably excited.
No, she doesn't know anything about it.
Oh, she don't know.
She don't know about it. So I don't tell anybody.
Oh, okay.
Nobody.
Oh, okay.
Right? The only people that know is Ms. Grimaldo and me. That is it. So I happened to take 2 of the kids with me because they were at school. So I picked them up. Coach, I need a ride. So I said, all right, I'll pick you guys up. So I said, hey. So we walk into the office there. And we talk. Hey, Coach, Mr. Grimaldo, Coach, the Santa Claus suit is over there. So the kids are like, what? They look at me like, I said, just come with me. Just follow. So they helped me get dressed. So end up in the library. So those kids are waiting there. So I'll walk in with a bag of gifts and give it to them and things like that. So it made me feel good, got me out of my comfort zone. And well, I'll put it to you this way. It turned out to be a great day because now, not just the elementary kids were taking pictures with Santa Claus. I had the high school baseball team taking pictures with Santa Claus. Yeah. So we did that, and then it was a great morning. So I get back and I tell Coach Cantu, I say, hey Coach, I said, you can't believe what I did today. It was what did you do? Like, I said, Coach, I dressed up like Santa Claus. And he like, what? He goes, that's not like you. I said, I know, Coach. You know, principal asked me, so I did it. So I went home and I told my wife, I said, hey, honey, I didn't want to tell you anything, but remember the gifts? Because she knew about the gifts. We were going to take the gifts with us. She goes, how did that go? I said, it was great. So how did it happen? I said, well, I ended up getting suited up as Santa Claus. No way. Like, no way. I was like, yeah, like, suited up as Santa Claus, like, you know. And then, what did you do? I said, well, I went over there, gave the kids the presents, and I said, it even gets better. She goes, what happened then? He goes, well, I had to give the pictures. I said, the pictures the kids said, the high school kids wanted to take pictures with Santa Claus. So they sat on my lap, so we were taking pictures left and right. She goes, that's awesome. Like, so, you know, and then she gets a bright idea, like, well, my wife's a dance teacher at Lopez High School. And she goes, what do you think? Maybe next year you can be the Santa Claus in our show.
Oh, in a show?
I said, in her dance show. And I'm going like, no way. No, for real. Like, we have a Santa Claus suit there, and you can just dress up as Santa, and you just got to sit there. Like, no. So to this day, I haven't done that yet.
Well,
so
Christmas is coming soon.
Yeah,
so.
Christmas is coming soon. So, but, you know, it's just something that, you know, and I'm the kind of guy that likes to be in control of certain things. And that was something that I thought I needed to get out of my comfort zone. And I thought it was something nice for the kids to do. And I did it. And then it became a big thing with, you know, our high school baseball players. Right?
Awesome. You know, Coach, you may not know this, but I'm thinking, okay, you did that out of your comfort zone, which led to now they asked you to speak. That's something else you did out of your comfort zone. So by the time you know, he'll be jumping out of planes. And,
no, I won't be jumping out of planes.
Not of planes?
No,
all right.
Scared of heights.
Coach, if you were to write a book, I feel that, you know, 30-some years in coaching, you could tell so many stories. What's one story you would want to put in that book? And you probably have like 7 of them, but
yeah,
pick the one that you want to share.
It's kind of hard. Like, I would put maybe baseball parks, you know, successful seasons we've had, you know, the upbringing, you know, my wife, just things like that. I'm very family oriented. So I don't think I could put one in there, but just, you know, and thank God that, you know, we've been successful and, you know, have a great family, great support, just things like that, you know, it's just something that a lot of people sometimes wish they could have, and they don't have it. And I'm very blessed to have it and things like that. And, you know, I grew up with a great family, great mom and dad, you know, and I still remember getting spanked, you know, and, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, being the middle child, and everybody knows the stories of being the middle child. You got blamed for things that you didn't even do. And sometimes you were not even home and you got blamed for it. But that was me. And I was okay with it. And that's why I tell my parents, like, maybe that's why, you know, I needed that extra discipline growing up. And that's why I'm where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
You know, and I always thank them for it. And they say, you don't have to thank them. Yeah, because you guys did a great job.
Very true.
You know.
What's one, Coach, when you're not working, what do you do? What are you doing? I know when I dress up as Santa Claus, we know that, but when you're not working, what does Coach Morales do?
I'm usually a homebody. You know, I'll play golf once in a while. You know, go on the baseball trips. Just little things like that. And now, you know, lately, you know, going back about comfort zone and things like that. You know, yesterday I got to play pickleball for the first time.
Oh, really?
Some of my baseball players invited me, Coach, let's go play pickleball. I was like, I don't even know how to play that. Coach, we'll show you. So I went out there and played pickleball, right? You know, but like I said, it's just things that I need to start getting out of my, you know, opening up a little bit more comfort zone and things like that, and just be more of if I'm home, I'm great. You know, I got my TV, I can watch TV, or I'm out in the backyard playing with my dog. You know, little things like that where I don't mind being home. You know, so that's what you would catch me doing.
Coach Coach. I want you to anything you want to share with the viewers. I mean, we're wrapping it up. I want to say, is there anything you want to share with the viewers? It's something we didn't cover, or
I just want to thank everybody that's come through our baseball program. It's been a great 26 years of being a head coach, a great 32 years of being at Los Fresnos High School or Los Fresnos CISD. It's always been great, being there. There's not too many coaches that can say they've been at one school their entire teaching career, and I've enjoyed it there. I've met great people, great student athletes, and it's just, I don't know, when I got the job, I didn't think I was going to be there that long. And now, 32 years down the road, I'm still there and enjoying every minute of it. And it's awesome to have, that support, So, to say, wrap it up, I just want to thank everybody for everything they've done for me. I've been through so many head coaches and a bunch of great head coaches, football and ADs and things like that. And, all my coaches before that coached me, that took me aside and took the time to help me out. Like I said, I had a bunch of coaches, Coach Barbosa, Coach Amaya, and Henry Martinez, Henry Cardiel, all ththese guys that took the time and saw that thing in me, that push me to keep going, and all the experience that I got, and I'm still living with a lot of experience that I haven't encountered yet, but it's always great to have, what I have, so, and I don't see my job as a job. I see it as something that I get to do every day, and it's funny because, some of the kids ask me, Coach, like, what, he goes, man, every day you look like you're happy at work. Like, yeah, I'm happy. I said, I get to do something that I love doing. I get up in the mornings and I don't wake up like, oh my God, like I got to go to work. No, I love being here. I said, I love talking to you guys. Whatever we're doing. Yeah. And let's go. Let's get it done. I said, so, that's the only advice I can give. And I tell them, the only advice I can give you guys is get a job that's going to make you happy, where you get up every morning and it's something that you don't want to do. You want to do it every day, So, to say, just thank everybody. Thank you for always, trying to pick my brain at certain things. And I enjoy that, and going back to that, like I got to see you in high school, and
don't say that story.
No, I'm not going to say the story, but, it's just something that, you grew up to be a great person.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
And you got your podcast and things like that. So there's a lot of things that have come out that I get to see every day, in the community of Los Fresnos. So I'm very proud to be a teacher coach here. And, hopefully I get to finish my career, here and we go from there. But I enjoy every minute that I've been here.
So, awesome, Coach. Coach, I appreciate you for being on the podcast. I want to thank you, Coach Morales, for sharing your journey. And I know you're coming up to the season. You got football coming up next week again, but I mean, it's like a year-round thing. And then you got baseball coming up as well. So I want to wish you great on the journey. And I plan to hopefully make it to one of the games this year. But if you end up now you start like you're down by runs, I'll take off home and you let me know how it goes. So I appreciate you, Coach, for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Lonnie. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for listening to or viewing the One Time Out Left podcast. We really appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe to the One Time Out Left podcast channel on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. You can also follow us on social media to stay up to date with all the latest news and behind-the-scenes content. Find us on X, Instagram, and Facebook. A huge thank you goes out to Rosie Lopez for graciously allowing me to host the podcast at La Casita. Finally, I'd love to get your input. Do you have any questions you'd like me to ask in future episodes? Or is there a specific coach you'd love to see invited on the podcast as a guest? Let us know.